still must be a way to have our children say, there are so many colors in the rainbow, so many colors in the morning sun, so many colors in the world, and I see every one.
Well, I don't work with children. I don't know why. They make people cry. But most young adults come to me with parameters firmly set and resistant to ideas beyond the confines of their consciousness. In fact, we all are that way. So how can we know what we don't know? For all the education I have and all the studying I do, all I've learned is how much I don't know. Intellectualism is a striving to understand the world in all of its complexities. Don't confuse it with being intelligent. Not necessarily the same thing. Intellectuals avoid compartmentalization and categorization. They avoid false binaries and labels. They wish to develop deeper understandings of the interconnectedness of institutions, people, culture, history, literature, philosophy, the physical and spiritual world, and art. That doesn't mean that there's no judgments or absolutes for some intellectuals, but there are certainly no easy answers. Intellectuals see life as overwhelmingly complex, so that snap decisions and heuristics are to be avoided. But to those who are comfortable with how things are, intellectualism is threatening. I don't believe that anyone lacks intellectual curiosity due to genetics. Rather, we learn to be skeptical of what seems difficult to understand because it complicates what we've tried our entire lives to make sense of. That's scary, and that's unsettling. What I've seen in my 10 years in this profession is an increasing comfort with devaluing intellectualism and intellectuals. If you try hard to understand the complexity of life, you're a flake. If you avoid easy answers, you're an elite, or an elitist, as Barack Obama was recently called. If you're a college professor dedicated to the Freirean notion of allowing students to be central to their own education so that they can realize their own full humanity, if you encourage them to push hard against those established boundaries, to see flowers any way they want to see them, if you will, if you push them to think critically about everything they've ever known, then you're seen as dangerous. You see, the claim about college professors wanting to turn students into liberals is completely wrong. It's a claim made by those who resent intellectualism and who fear a world full of free thinkers. I know very few academics who wish to change their students' minds or suggest a particular political orientation, let alone force one. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We want our students to learn to challenge the indoctrination that they perceive throughout their lives and come to their own decisions. But if one views the world through a non-intellectual lens, then the only possible explanation for students challenging the status quo is that they've been brainwashed to do so. Those who prefer indoctrination assume that it's the only way to affect attitudes and beliefs. Few can understand how Barack Obama sat in a church with sermons by Reverend Jeremiah Wright and processed that information critically as an intellectual. If the parameters of our thought process are set by those in influential positions, then we assume that everyone is incapable of critical processing. It's what psychologists call projecting. But intellectualism is a route to love in the broadest sense. It's difficult to be apathetic when one comes to realize the amazing complexities of the physical, emotional, and spiritual worlds. Through intellectual investigation, we learn about multiple perspectives. We come to find arrogance in our previous beliefs that ours is the correct, if not the only, perspective that there is. As we strive to love one another, we become increasingly concerned about one another's welfare. We love, we care, we work toward justice, the public manifestation of love. But it's not all that cheery. By realizing the complexity of the world, we come to realize the systemic advantages and disadvantages that comprise the hegemonic order. We're routinely frustrated, saddened, angered, and even intolerant of those who refuse to appreciate and work to remedy the pain that causes those on the outside. We become tempted to fall into apathy, to wrap ourselves in that warm blanket, and to turn our love inward. We start to question our own privilege, which sometimes results in a paralysis that mirrors apathy. This is the burden of those who strive for the intellectual, but what a wonderful struggle it is. For me, it's what makes me hop out of bed in the morning, because I know that I don't struggle alone. Each day I'm surrounded by brilliant colleagues, eager and talented students, and an entire community of learners to share in my struggle. North Central College is committed to social justice, and in that way it's committed to love, and so am I. I have been and am loved by so many wonderful people, and like me, they know that the world is full of challenges and sometimes unbelievable injustice. It's tempting to retreat into apathy when it all feels too overwhelming. Without one another, that's exactly what we do. But since we love, we continue to love. If love and apathy are two sides of the same coin, then we can envision a cycle of either moving, this cycle moving in perpetuity. The challenge is not to interrupt the inertia, but rather to keep our eyes squarely on the love side of that two-sided coin. Let me get a little bit silly here for a second. Post-structuralists might argue that the coin itself is an amalgamation of how it's perceived. As such, the apathy side of the coin doesn't even exist if we fix our gaze on the love side. In this case, where our eyes don't go stays in the shadow of our consciousness. With respect to the embrace of intellectualism, however, we wish to find out where our eyes don't go, so that we can better understand the perspectives of the other, so that in turn, we might love them more fully. I intentionally spoke shorter than my allotted time because I hope to engage in genuine dialogue with you about this subject. That's going to be up to you. I so appreciate your time and attention, and I'm so grateful for being asked to be with you this evening. I believe that I'm only a construction of the people who love me, so I wanted to leave you with a list of some of those folks, as well as the song for which this lecture was entitled. And after that short song's over, I hope we can have a little bit of a talk. Thank you.
Never be discovering.